I kind of understand, because look at this. If you're going to Russia to find love or to watch, what is it you doing? Are you going there to watch football? And if whilst you're there you want to enjoy yourself, then make sure that you use protection to avoid certain unwarranted situations. But say you go out there and you engage in certain activities, and children are the consequences of those activities. As someone who went there to just watch the football, are you really going to take up that responsibility knowing that you've got a kid out there? Do you even find out? Because I'm sure, how long is the tournament? How long is it?
A month.
It's a month.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you meet someone there, it's like your purpose there, you going to engage in, if you have a bit of fun and then you leave, is this person going to call you when you go back to wherever country you're from to say, oh, by the way, I'm pregnant?
So you understand from their point of view?
Not. I understand why she's saying that, but it's still not right, because Russia. I mean, if you remember the Reggie Yates documentary that he did, Russia is very, very racist.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't like black people, so she's saying it as if she's trying to protect the Russian women there. But she's just using that. She's just using that line of, oh, I'm doing this for your own good. But really, it's just to say, we don't want you mixing with us. Don't dilute our race. I think that's what it is.
I remember when this issue came up with regards to Ghana and the U.S. cooperation, where a lot of people were saying that, look, the army will come there and impregnate a lot of Ghanaian women and just go. We've also seen cases with the Chinese in Ghana, where people have kicked against this type of thing.
I think the problem is, it's not. I don't think they intentionally go there to impregnate people, but I think men and women just take responsibility. If you're going to, get into relations with someone, make sure you're protecting yourself to avoid those, having children, unless that was your intention all along. But I think the men need to be a bit responsible in that department, because I don't think they're intentionally going out there to Russia to say, oh, I'm going to sleep with as many girls as maybe some people are.
The reason why I brought this in, Kiki, and I would like to hear your take on this as well, that in 2008, when Ghana hosted Africa Cup of Nations, the stadium that was built, it was built by Chinese in Takoradi, and when they left, there was a lot of single mothers in Ghana.
Yeah. I mean, they were living there, working there, and so they have urges. And so, and contraception in that time was not free, as it wasn't in the Olympic times in Russia in those times. So maybe they should rather start giving free contraception to all the people, so that anytime there's an influx of activity from other countries, please make contraception free. That could be a good thing. Or start giving out condoms, because then you do not have some foreign disease that we don't know the name of.
Are you not promoting it, though? You're not promoting it.
We are protecting and preventing the issue. It's protecting,
You can't stop people from having sex.
You
can't stop them.
A natural, normal urge. And we really must move away from stop having sex.
So you might, if you can't stop them, so you might as well give them the methods in which they can protect themselves.
So if you
whilst they're engaging in that act.
If you don't want Chinese-looking Ghanaians, that is racist in itself, But
exactly. Love is love.
Love is love.
I mean, I wanted to come down to your earlier point, which is the undertone in which those remarks were made. So I'm saying, then the situation in Ghana, would you say Ghanaians still are being racist?
Of course. Of course. I mean, but the thing is, the difference with this is, then we have them, then they're Ghanaians. You see, Ghanaians, I have Russian cousins, and I have Chinese cousins, and I have all of them, and they're my cousins, and we're kind of box and cocks. We eat the Ghanaian food and we do the Ghanaian thing. It's no different. I have actually never thought about them as the other side.
Yeah.
However,
it's different.
When you're black and you're in a foreign country. They view the other side. You see what I mean? They do not take you in. for us, we take you in. But in Russia, there's a difference. That's why they're called the Olympic children, or the, you know, they're foreigners. Now, but whilst we're talking about that, in truth, the history of this country as well, some of the black people are in areas where the American Air Force and American soldiers came. They also used to give the women of this country, this is years ago, I think it was the 60s, 50s, 40s, they used to give them stockings and chewing gum and things and then sleep with them. And then by the time they left, the majority of the young girls of the time.
I think this is something that probably happens
everywhere.
Everywhere. So, I mean, this minister coming out to say, I'm not surprised. But when I saw it, I was like, well, this is Russia, so I'm not surprised that she would make such a statement. And from someone who is a minister as well, isn't she looking after children and women's affairs?
What I want to say,
she's protecting her country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where does it border on racism?
No, but it borders on racism when you are actually talking about color. What about the British and all the white?
In Ghana as well, you're talking about the Chinese.
No, but you brought it up. We didn't. No, but was there an outrage in Ghana though when that happened?
Well, I'm sure yes, because we've had.
Wait,
hold on.
No.
I don't remember this. I don't remember there being an outrage about
2008, there was an outrage.
But
no outrage.
I think this is the point that Kiki was going to make,
this.
which is black people are not the only people going to Russia. So why did she not say?
Well, she did say Asian, North American, Africans.
But that's what it is. That's why we're talking racism here.
Why did she not say British? Other Europeans that's coming to Russia?
Yeah, all foreigners. Yeah. She didn't say that.
But you see, the point I was trying to get at here is that sometimes when it goes against black people, it's racism. But when black people say it, we don't see it as
but we don't say
racism.
it like that.
Yeah, that's my point. Where has there been a case where, let's say, a minister in some country in Africa has said, you know, black women do not sleep with white men, or do not? Has there been a case like that?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, so then you can't say that if white people do, we say is racist, but then black people do is fine, because we haven't done it. Like Kiki said, if anything, we actually like people who are, you know, mixed with a bit of European blood in them. We love them. We treat them like they're kings. So
okay.
I don't.
All right,
let's
move on to another story. Now, a Nigerian asylum seeker who fled to Britain to avoid prosecution for being gay is facing deportation after being held for 6 months in an immigration detention center. Now, a lot of, according to the reports, there were 362 cases that the Home Office had to deal with, and out of those cases, only I think about 63 got the right to remain. Got the right or granted asylum in this country. Now, looking at how the law against homosexuality in Nigeria, you could face up to 14 years in prison. This is a man who fled for his life, basically, and now he's facing deportation.
Another case of racism.
Okay, you hold on to that thought, Kiki. Another case of racism. We're taking a quick break. When we come back, we will talk more. We'll be back after this.
This program is brought to you by Pay Global.
Using new Persil Power Germs. Extraordinary powers to remove stains, care, and freshen. Persil Power Germs. Extraordinary powers.
My youngest son has to have tomato sauce on everything. Within seconds, the tomato sauce is all over his school uniform.
Can you tell me what's on there?
That looks exactly what I deal with on a daily basis.
Do you believe you could take it out with Vanish?
No, I doubt it. I can't see a thing. And it smells nice too.
When stress piles up, heartburn and indigestion can strike. Gaviscon Double Action neutralises excess acid, soothing heartburn and forming a protective barrier. That gives you long-lasting relief to help get you through your day. For fast, long-lasting relief, choose Gaviscon Double Action.
This week at Lidl, get ready for summer. There's a two-man kayak, just $39.99. An inflatable unicorn, just $14.99. And an adventure paddling pool for $34.99. So, splash less cash from Thursday the 14th of June. Get there first.
What are you doing? You can't celebrate, they've just scored.
But I've just won 10 grand, Marcus.
Shocking. Unbelievable.
With up to £10,000 with Mars Sweetsteak.
Welcome to another edition of Switch HQ. That's right, my name is Ludwig Jr. and from now on you're going to see my shows coming to you straight from London, exclusively.
This program is brought to you by Pay Global.
Welcome back to Talk Africa with me, Jones Ewa. Today in the studio we have Candy Kisei, Kiki, also known as Cassandra. Also, Yanya is here with us this morning. Now, Kiki, I think I interjected while you were making a comment with regards to the story on a gay man who seeking asylum here in the UK but facing deportation.
Yeah, I think, first of all, yeah, I have views on this. My view is this. The UK goes to Nigeria, UK goes to Ghana, UK goes to African countries and suggests to them that they should stop persecuting the gays. They should do certain things, allow gays to
have the same rights as everyone else,
and then they'll give them with conditions that if you do this, I will give you your loan or your aid, and etc., etc. And you, UK, you are very aware that when a person comes to the UK and says that I am gay and this and this and this is when you take them in. So if you are deporting that same person, is it that you don't care? Is that what the UK is telling us now?
But then everything will be on merit, wouldn't it? And then the most difficult part is to prove if one is gay. Is it a case where they have to open the borders up to everybody that comes in?
They have been allowing them to come in already. So if the person is in, why are you sending them back?
I think this is all to do with the Tories in power at the moment. Immigration has always been on their hit list. You know, we need to whittle it down. We need to whittle it down. So I'm not surprised that they're deporting people left, right, and centre, without regards to whether if they go back to their country they'll be in danger or not. Because, like you said, in terms of proving if this guy's life is really at risk, I mean, the article says that he was found in bed, he was severely beaten, his employer sacked him. Police in Nigeria have been broadcasting his pictures in the papers and stuff, saying that he's gay, so, you know, he's receiving daily threats. I don't know, you know, how much more proof do I need to show you that if I go back, I may possibly face imprisonment or even death? You know, I don't know, what can you do? What do I need to prove?
By going by what you said, Kiki, it's just pure hypocrisy here, because the UK are for, you know, gay men and women to have their rights in their respective countries. We saw it at the Commonwealth Summit. Theresa May said it as well. And going back to one thing you said again, these laws were put in place by the Brits themselves, by the British United Kingdom themselves. But then, looking at it from their side, like you said, I mean, regardless whether it's the Tories or not the Tories, there still needs to be a level of how many people can be granted asylum in this country.
Well, but the person is here already. The point is, the person is here already.
Yeah, but usually they're here. Usually they're here and then they apply for the
Now this is a man who, well, maybe it's because he said his wife caught him in bed, which means he's a bisexual. And if he is bisexual, the question is he really gay, or is he using the fact that he wanted to come here and get the wife, you know? So then it puts his case into a murky place. Yeah. However, the truth of the matter is there are a lot of gays who are on the down low because they don't want to be seen to be known as gay, and therefore they go through the normal stages and marry. I have an uncle who actually married and all of that, but he was very unhappy because he was gay, and you know, blah blah blah. So these are the issues. Now, the point is the hypocrisy. The hypocrisy is that you are the home for gays. You, I mean, if you want to put it that way, or you are the person who tolerates gays.
Gay rights.
Yes, you have gay rights, you have extra. Where are the gays, though? Where are they? They should be fighting for this asylum seeker.
The LGBT.
Yeah, the LGBT group community should be fighting for him and trying to get him reinstated into the country, because really, if he's in the newspapers in Nigeria, he's on the television, in the social media, everyone knows his face, he will be lynched the minute he lands in Lagos.
But then could it be a case where you have people who will abuse the system as well?
Oh no, like I think that is true. People do use that, very reason. They lie and say, I'm gay, and if I go back to my country, I'll probably be imprisoned or my life will be at risk, so let me stay. But it's on you, the Home Office, it's on you to investigate this person's claims properly. Now, if, like they're saying in the article, that the guy has been published in the media, his picture has been in the media, the police have circulated his pictures on social media in Nigeria, that he's gay and that he was caught with another man in bed. I don't know. Another man.
Yes, another man.
Yeah,
by his wife.
By his wife, who then divorced him. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how much more proof you need for me, for me to stay here. I don't know. How much more proof do I need to show?
All right, let's look at another story. And this story actually will lead us into our main topic of the day. A Danish man was remanded in custody after pleading not guilty to killing his wife and daughter at their home in Nigeria, Nigeria's capital, Lagos. His name is Peter Nielsen. He's 53. He appeared in court in the city accused, as I said, of murdering his wife, Zainab, 37, and their 3-year-old daughter, Petra. Now, according to this story, it was down to domestic violence. Kiki.
What is the Nigerian government doing about this case? That's when I read it. Yes, so he killed her and then killed the 3-year-old daughter as well.
No, I think the article says that he tried to say that he's actually murdered them, but he's trying to say that it was a domestic that's what he's trying to pass it off as. But I mean
either way.
Either way.
But this brings the issue of you murdered somebody and then you're going to say it's domestic violence. Is it domestic violence against a child as well? And also, is he trying to say it's domestic violence because he knows that in Africa, domestic violence is such a minuscule issue,
and
that
it's sanctioned. If they think that as a woman you've done something wrong, then if your husband beats you and perhaps ultimately kills you, then it must be because you've done something wrong, and that's probably why he's trying to pass it off as, was a domestic issue. She must have done something heinous hence, what happened. What happened to her?
I think it's unacceptable.
Okay. All right. Now, I think it's only right that we turn our attentions to our main topic of the day. Just to let you know that we're having an issue with our Facebook page. However, we're streaming live on YouTube. Okay. We find other avenues that you can watch us live on YouTube. You can go onto our YouTube page, GNTV UK. All right, go onto our YouTube page. You'll be able to watch the live feed. I think we've also posted the link on our Facebook page, I think. Or if not, as I said, go onto our Facebook page, YouTube page. You can watch us live on there. Get involved in the conversations that we're having here. Or if you want to call into the studio, it's 0203-735-8820 or 0203-286-1328. As I said, the story we just discussed will lead us into our main topic of the day. Is domestic violence hidden or underreported in Africa? But before we go into it, we do have a soundbite that we spoke to a few people about this. Let's take a quick listen to them. And when we come back, we will talk more about it. Domestic violence against women across Africa. Is it a reality or is it a myth? If it's a reality, what needs to be done?
Domestic violence can never be a myth. It is something our sisters live through on a daily basis. It is something, it is one of those elephants in the room that women are often intimidated to talk about because they're often seen as victims. They're seen as victims, and because of the fact that they're seen as victims, they don't want the stigmatization to be associated with them. It is something that we must begin to talk about. Domestic violence doesn't look like a woman just on the farm. Domestic violence look like me. I could be a victim of domestic violence. There are women like me that are victims of domestic violence, but because of the stigmatization associated with it, they are often very timid when it comes to talking about it openly. But I think that's one of those things we need to talk about. Our male counterparts need to respect us for who we are. We need to understand that we bring a lot to the table as well as you all bring to the table. And things like domestic violence only infuriate women more, and that cannot be in the 21st century. Absolutely not.
Domestic violence across Africa, is it a myth or is it a reality? And if it is a reality, what needs to be done to tackle it?
Well, it's not a myth. It's I think it's because of the way the African culture is. Like there's lots of things that are not actually said in the open. Like especially like one of the things is domestic violence against women. It's sort of like women in an African culture, they're supposed to just accept to do whatever the man has to say all the time. But I think as an African continent, and we need to sort of like embrace the world we're living in today. The world has changed, we've moved on, and we need to stop lagging behind against what every other country all over the world are doing. We need to move at a very fast pace and get on with that and join in as well. Like things like rape in Africa, it's sort of like it is actually a myth. It's things like some for African women to go and report rape to the police. They think they're always asking for it. Like everywhere else, but especially in the African continent, that needs to change, and domestic violence as well. And we men as well, we have to change the way we have to respect our wives and stuff like that. We have to develop. So it is quite challenging. It's quite challenging for men, especially the way we grew up as well. My mom always should be just at home, and my dad was the one who was going to work. But that has changed now. Women, they go to work. You know, some women support their families, you know, the men sit at work, but, you know, in African culture, for just a man to be sitting at home and the wife going to work, it's not right. You know, we got to move on.
I think we need to be more confident in terms of speaking out. You know, not just even in abuse. If our parents or somebody's doing something bad to us, we tend to keep it within us. We don't. It's almost like when we're growing up, we're a bit suppressed. Whereas children over here, my child will say, "Mummy, you didn't do that," or "You did that," like, but confidently. But whereas a child in Africa or a child in Ghana will probably not come out to vocalize something that's happened to them. So we need to encourage our children as they're growing up to be able to communicate when something has gone wrong. And so when abuse happens, they're able to communicate to the mother or father or family.
Domestic violence against women particularly, of course, it is a problem, not just in Africa, but right across the world. And in all socio-economic groups, rich, middle income and poorer households. And so it's a universal challenge. It's a challenge for Africans. And I think that what I would say about domestic violence is we have to eliminate it. And I use the word eliminate deliberately, because you can't just say, oh, let's reduce domestic violence, because then I would say, well, what level of domestic violence is acceptable? We have to eradicate and eliminate it by all means possible.
Thank you very much.
This program is brought to you by Pay Global.
Welcome back to Talk Africa. As I said, we are live on YouTube, okay? We have some technical issues with our Facebook page, so do go onto our YouTube page. I've shared it on my Facebook page, actually, so you can go onto my Facebook page and join the conversation. It's Jones Ewa. All right, so Kiki, let me take your submissions on our main topic of the day.
Well, the main topic of the day is domestic violence.
Yes.
And I think domestic violence is something that should really be eradicated. I don't know, the thing, I'll tell you the scenario of domestic violence that I know about is a woman gets into marriage and she's told by the females, or she's advised, don't talk bad about things that go on in your marriage. Do not speak. Do not say bad things about your husband. Whatever goes on is between the two of you. A man goes into marriage and he is assured that he is the head of the household. He should discipline any wrongdoing that his wife does. He should be the man disciplining the children. And so he comes in from the position of power. And the woman should be suppliant, supplicant, and all of the other subs. So she does something wrong, and his mother says, you really should discipline your wife, She's getting out of hand. Can you believe that she puts the tomatoes in before the onions? Something as simple and as insignificant as that a woman could get a slap, a push, something. Can you imagine if your mother-in-law complains to your husband that you're rude, or that you didn't say good morning to her in the morning about something? So he says, how dare you be rude to my mother? Bam, bam, he hits you. So continually, he is the disciplinarian, he's the head of the family, and he's meting out all these beatings and things. Sometimes it's trumped up charges. Sometimes it's something that it's not big enough. You will be beaten, slapped, pushed, shoved, hair pulled, etc., etc. Another type of domestic violence that people are not aware of is when a man is continually denigrating you.
Psychological.
And psychological. Yeah. The other one is financial. So he's controlling what you eat, what you do, what you wear. He's controlling. There are men out there who the woman works, but he controls her money and his money. And if she dares to buy something, or it's like, where did you get the money from? do you not know that we should, all of this is violence. And all of this happens in homes across Africa. And all of this is being controlled by the man.
But then is it not a case where we've seen, especially the older generation, the mothers, our mothers, they've been through a lot. And it's almost as if, as a woman, you're supposed to be able to carry everything, to take it, and just pray about it, and just keep going. There's this
report by the World Bank. They did this report in Africa. It's called Poverty in a Rise in Africa.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they looked at was domestic violence. And the statistics they had, 51% of African women report that being beaten by their husband is justified if they either go out without permission, lick at the children, argue back, refuse to have sex, or burn the food. The women think it's okay for my husband to beat me if I do these things.
Now the children answer back to the husband.
No, so if they neglect the children, if the woman answers back to the husband, if she goes out without the husband's permission, and if the husband beats her, they think it's okay. And that in itself is very, very shocking. The fact that they think that it's okay for violence to be meted out to them like that. And that goes to show, you know, where do they develop this sort of mentality? You know, and I always say it goes back to the home. If, as a boy, okay, or even kids, if you see your mother being beaten, and you're a little boy, you probably grow up thinking that it's okay to do that when you grow up. You wouldn't think twice about hitting your wife if she says something to you that you don't like, you know. And it's just, I think, I couldn't believe it when I read the fact that they thought it was okay, and hence they wouldn't report it because they think it's something it's a normalized behavior. In their opinion, that's how they see it.
Is it not a case where it's part of the challenges that happens in relationships, marriages in general?
But if you have challenges, do you have to resort to violence? You know, do you hit your sister?
I was just about to say, if you have an argument or if I'm arguing right now and then you say something I don't like, I'm not going to slap you.
No, but then
you don't do that with people that you're friends with. But what makes you think it's okay to do that in a relationship with someone you love?
See, that's no, I wouldn't. I'm against them. But then there is this perception of, you know, being in a relationship or marriage. It's not easy. It has its pros and cons.
Exactly. But there are ways to solve problems.
You did say for better, for worse. Certain women, do you believe that once you're married, if you divorce your husband, that means, you know, society will look at you in a different way. As a woman, you should be able to take this and, you know, and carry on.
So is how society looks at you more important than your life?
Yes,
there were women
There
were women that have lost their lives because they stayed in an abusive relationship. And we need to stop that. Oh, how is society going to view me if I leave? No! If you're in a situation where your husband is beating you, it might be possibly that it's not just you. That violence will then extend to your children. And you're going to stay in that relationship because you don't want your aunties or the females in your community to say, oh, that girl couldn't even hold their marriage together. Hey, at least you'll be alive. And I think we need to tackle that sort of way of thinking within our society, that if you divorce it's because you're a bad wife. We always put the blame on the woman. Why are we not educating the men that if you have a dispute with your husband, violence is not the way to solve it?
No.
Why are we not actually challenging the men to change their way of thinking? Why is it always, oh, the woman, if you leave your husband? We need to turn the tables on the men.
It's as if in a marriage, a woman has so much to do, so much to be careful of, so much to you know, just to keep a home. It's mind splitting, especially in the African setting. I'm telling you. I mean, you meet a man who cooks or is, you know, doesn't mind doing little things, and I'm kind of staggered by it all. I'm still in a state of staggering, even though I've been with the person for so many years. I'm still kind of, because you're not used to that. This is not your world. Men expect so much and are also encouraged to discipline them. That is where I, you know, it just does my head in. I've never understood it, and I will never understand it. And as for me, I'm ready to advocate, help anyone who is in that situation if I know them. The problem is there's so many women, as you said, who are in the situation, and you know, they will not even admit that they're suffering because it's shameful, because society is expecting them to be beaten anyway, therefore it's acceptable, when it's not. Society is allowing people, look, when a man, if he says it's domestic violence and he thinks that his case will be lessened because it is domestic violence, then it means that we're done for. I mean, this is just, the argument is finished.
And also, if you think about it this way, the whole idea of domestic violence happening, you know, in Africa, I think it's very much to do with power.
Yes.
Because if you look at a woman who perhaps relies on her husband, you know, for financial help, you know, so her role in the house primarily is the caregiver. So she looks after the children and looks after.
And I'm here to look after everyone. So we're taking a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more. We'll be back right after this.
This program is brought to you by Pay Global. This program is brought to you by Pay Global.
Hello and welcome back to Talk Africa with me, John Sewa, and in the studio we have Juliet. I don't want to get your surname wrong. Makapila. Thank you for joining us. Juliet Makapila is a UK Africa Diaspora founder and also community transformer. She's here with us to look at our main topic of the day, which is to do with domestic violence across the continent. You can join the conversation on 0203-735-8820 or 0203-286 0185. If you want to send a text message, is 077-879-39958. Or alternatively, you can go onto our YouTube page because we're streaming live on YouTube. Unfortunately, we have some technical issues with our Facebook page today. However, we're streaming live on YouTube, so do get involved. As soon as you just join us on the issue of domestic violence, we're asking today, domestic violence, is it being underreported? And we've touched on the negative aspect, which is the stigmatization that comes with it. At what point should one realize that, okay, I'm in a situation where I'm being abused all the time, that I need to take some form of measurement to resolve this issue?
First of all, can I thank Dr. Papa Kwasi.
Indum, yes.
Indum, yes, thank you. I hope I've pronounced it right. And the Ghana showing this as well, and across, and also thank you for approaching me to come and do this topic. I welcome the platform. And yes, is domestic violence reported in Africa? And is it also something, at what point you're asking me? At any point, if anybody is experiencing domestic violence, be it physical or emotional, it needs to not go silent. And I think we're seeing the effect of silence, yes. So I was listening to the lady prior me who is discussing about the physical side of things, yes.
Okay, now, before we went on the break, we were looking, I was asking that a lot of women, or men, well, across Africa, the percentage is highly affected women. And you were touching on the whole power issue.
It's a power play, especially if, as a woman, I can, and this is why domestic abuse is such, it's such a huge subject, because it's very, very hard, especially when love is involved. It's very hard to leave a marriage or to leave a man who abuses you just because of the fact that you love them. You think, you know what, maybe they'll change. Oh, next time he said he's sorry, so you know, it's something that can be resolved. It's very, very difficult when love is involved to walk away from that person. But I think in situations where, as a woman, you're not economically dependent, so you rely on your husband for support financially, it's very hard to if you want to leave, where do you go? You know, I'm going to use Ghana for example. I remember as kids growing up, when we see some of these movies and, you know, local dramas that they show, if there's a dispute between the man and a woman, and, you know, the husband hits the woman and she goes back home, what do her parents do? They send her back. Yes. They send her back to go back to your husband. You know, they don't try to resolve or even talk to the man that, you know, it's wrong to hit your wife or your partner. It's as if the onus is always on the woman, that somehow you have to do everything in your power to make sure that your man doesn't hit you. But if man's going to hit you, no matter what you do, he will hit you. And I like I said, it needs to be tackled. I think men, they need to be taught that if a woman argues with you or speaks up, that does not, it's not disrespectful. It's not, she's not undermining your authority, because marriage is supposed to be a partnership.
Yeah.
If she goes against you or has her own opinion, because she is a person, don't think that, oh, if she does that, that means I'm not a man, and therefore I must show my dominance, you know, by beating her. And I think that mentality needs to change. We need to change the way we bring up our men in society.
And Juliet, I wanted to look at this aspect of it as well, because you did touch upon it, which is the, I think, emotional abuse. Because I think widely across the continent, we've seen cases where a woman has been abused, physically abused, and the father has stepped in and said, look, I'm not going to accept this. The woman can come, my daughter can come back to me. Yes. But one aspect is the emotional side of it, which could be even more dangerous to the physical side of abuse.
And what is important is, in London here, we know it as domestic violence, but back home we call it gender-based violence, and it's important to relate it in the language that the communities in Africa understand it. Yeah. So I'll give this statistics for, and I'm going to quote WHO, violence against women, or the World Health Organization. I pick up a report on the 29th of November 2017, and the key facts that were stated within the African continent were violence against women, particularly intimate partners, which is what she's talking about, on sexual violence is a major public health problem and a violation of women's human rights. Global estimates published by WHO indicates that about 1 in 3, 35% of women worldwide, have experienced either physical or sexual intimate partners violence or non-partner sexual violence in their lifetime. That's quite a high statistics. Yeah. Most of this violence is intimate partner violence, which she's speaking about. Worldwide, 1/3, 30% of women who have been in a relationship report that they have experienced some form of physical or sexual violence by their intimate partners in their lifetime. Globally, as many as 38% of murders of women, murders we're talking about, very sad case, you can say, are committed by a male intimate partner. Violence can negatively affect women's physical, mental, sexual, and reproductive health, and may increase the risk of acquiring HIV in some settings. So we are also talking about HIV here. Men are more likely to perpetrate violence if they have low education, a history of child maltreatment, history, exposure to domestic violence against their mother, harmful use of alcohol, I
have seen the statistics, but what bothers me is the fact that people, women suffering, are not coming forward to talk about this or to report it to the authorities.
Okay, and this is where the issue is in Africa. First of all, we have to look at the structure and governance in our African society.
Julia, may I have to ask you, sorry to interject, to come a bit closer to your mic.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right, thank you. You look at the structures and governance of how Africa is structured, and most of the time the women has to, like she's explaining, to be silenced, and sometimes has to bear the weight and sometimes sort out her home. I want to talk about the stereotype and the stigma that sometimes people don't want to bring out in their homes. I believe that women can gossip and talk, and I think this is an area that needs to be addressed in terms of how do you ensure women are not suffering stigma. Even the men themselves. If you look at why the women get beating is perhaps, if we go across Africa, why do you bring shame in my family? Or why do you bring me down? Do you know who I am as a man and whatever? Be it powerful people, they might intimidate. I call that bullying in terms of survival. And yes, I think that is what I am saying. Emotional, I think a lot of cases I'll give a good example of what work I did in Busia, Bomola, and I'm so grateful that I don't take things lightly for myself, be it any injustices. I believe that we all have potential to do something in our hometowns, in the diaspora, anything you care about. So I saw this video last year or year before last year as well, and the woman was getting beating. And I tell you what, she was getting a serious beating. And that was going through WhatsApp. And I decided, I don't care who this woman is, but if that was me, you know, first of all, we needed to find out who and where, which country this came from. So you can imagine you've just seen a video on WhatsApp. And first of all, I know that sometimes nobody might even care. Yeah. But when you see abuse, you know it's abuse.
Absolutely. And Juliet, just hold on for me for just a brief moment, because we need to take another break. When we come back, we'll hear more about your experiences and what you did. We'll be back right after this.
This program is brought to you by Pay Global. This program is brought to you by Pay Global.
Welcome back to Talk Africa. If you just joined us, we're looking at our main topic of the day. And the question we're asking is domestic violence hidden or underreported in Africa? You can join the conversation. You can go onto our YouTube page, or you can listen to us live on Sky Channel 0185. That's GN Radio. So if you want to call in, it's 0203-735-8820 or 0203-286-1328 to join the conversation. Okay, let me take a few messages that has come in on our WhatsApp. Okay, if you want to send a WhatsApp page, WhatsApp message is 077-879-39958. And this is from James. James is saying, "Good morning to you, Jones. Please, can you put this question to Juliet for me? Juliet, at what point does one need to take that bold step and cry for help?" Okay, I think James wants to know, when should somebody involved in the form of domestic violence or abuse start seeking for help?
Immediately. I believe that if you feel unsafe, you run for your life. And that is what I tell people in Africa. Don't say run. I mean run. There is no stage to experience domestic violence in any way. Talk to someone. Talk to your counselors. Report it to the police officers. If you've got any, if you don't trust it to anybody, talk to a close friend. Let them start the support process. Talk to your pastors or preachers or someone that, look, this is what is going on in my life. I am experiencing that. The quicker the better, because interventions can shape up. But if you're trying to keep quiet about it and nobody knows that you're suffering, and this is the issues in reality. Some people go through so much and they're not saying. And when that happens as well, it's important to note the changes of the person as well. If someone goes in, even a child changes, it's always important to know what you're surrounding. And, yeah.
And I think sometimes it can be hard, like you said, if this is happening to you, leave. I think people, the lack of alternatives forces them to stay in that situation, because where are you going to go? You know, especially if you live in a rural community, who are you going to stay with? And if we don't know, like you said,
but
if
is the first step
not
reporting in the first place?
Reporting, like you said, with the whole reporting to the police, I think sometimes our attitude is that, you know, beating your wife or hitting someone is not really seen as a crime. You know, police are dealing with real issues, with real crime, so perhaps they don't see domestic violence as a crime. But I think it needs to be reported. But in a community where perhaps violence against women is seen as something that's wrong, I think you might be more likely to get support than people that, you know, especially, and I always go back to rural communities, you know, a lot of stuff with, you know, like the chiefs and community leaders, when a dispute happens, we sit and try to resolve it. It seems like ultimately the issue is try to work it out. And it's not really recognized that sometimes it can't be worked out. You can't work out violence. If someone is not going to stop hitting you, there is no resolving that issue with that person. And so it always comes back to changing attitudes. And perhaps if cases are made where men are actually prosecuted and jailed, you know, for meting out violence to women, then maybe attitudes might possibly change, and men will suddenly think, actually, I can't hit my partner because this might potentially happen to me. I mean, do we see enough in newspaper? Do we see in the news that men have been prosecuted or perhaps jailed because of that issue? We hardly ever see it. Well, and they're not brought to justice.
Okay, go on.
And this is what, just before break, I was going to come up and speak about what I did in Kenya. Yeah. I originally I come from Kenya, so in the rural village we had, and I noticed, you know, following that video. So in my investigation, the first thing I wanted to know was, where was this happening? Because I heard them speak Swahili, and I was quite concerned that in Kenya, for such a woman to get such a beating, the first thing I was concerned, where are the men or the uncles when this woman is getting this kind of beatings? Because that is not something that I would see in Kenya. So for the fact that that video spoke Swahili, which I understand clearly, I could not face myself, because I believe that ignorance is something that if I left it or anybody leaves it, we are all praying to domestic violence.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I questioned myself. And what did I do? Luckily, Swahili is spoken in different countries. Yeah. So it turned out to be that case was in Tanzania. But I took my telephone and I made a phone call to whoever you can think. I said, I want this video investigated because we need to know who this lady is. What is going on in this area? And so I projected, because I did mapping, so I projected that this area can be perhaps in this area. So Africa is a small place, I love to say. If you know the chiefs and you know whatever, we will find who that person is, as you know. We're going to go to that very same village and we will catch the perpetrators because we have to bring them to justice. I was prepared to pay. I didn't care who, you know, but just to see that kind of violence. So it turned out to be, in that case, it was in Tanzania, it turned out to be that although we were seeing domestic violence in our physical face, it turned out that the victim had quarreled with the parents, and then they were getting that kind of violence because the parent had ordered the victim or to be beaten. So even you have this kind of thing where you can have physical violence from families. So, because the first question I raised, in Africa, even if it is your girl or your man, if they want to be beaten, what will happen? They'll start a fight, but people will pull and bring. And when you see that is not happening, you know, from our own attitude in society, you have to get a grip and ask yourself, what is going on in that home? And so following that, immediately people picked up that story. And I thank God, one of the police officers I reached out to, I have never met this police officer, this is very interesting. And I said to him, because I knew he was a police officer, I said, please, are you able to look at that and send it to, you know, whoever you think? He took interest. And right now, as we speak, that police officer has got recommendation in Kenya, and following that, what I got was assessment of the whole of Butula, following that one exercise. And that exercise, it's empowering. And I spoke to, it's not me actually on the ground, but following my actions that I took. And indirectly, that has carved down what we used to see as gender-based violence. I am talking about what you would see young girls being abused. I'm talking about cases that you would really know that they're rape as well, and women. So within that effort of that one police officer, and I would love to mention him at this time, I want to appreciate the OCS, Albert Kipchumba. I have never met him, but thanks to his efforts and to the efforts of the chiefs in that area in Bumula and every single person, and these are people I have never met, but following me,
This story reminds me of that incident in Ghana where it was filmed on social media. This woman, apparently she had gone out and her father disapproved, and in the video she's held down by two men and she is flogged in public, and we never nothing happened to the men, and it was her brothers and her father who did that to her. And it was something that was filmed, and no consequences whatsoever.
I just want to let people know here in the UK, if you want to get help, if you're in some form of abusive relationship and you don't know where to go, the 24-hour National Domestic Violence Helpline is 0808 2000 247. 0808 2000 247. Do not suffer in silence. Make that phone call and seek for help. There are people at the end of the line who can assist you or who can help you. And quickly before you go, Juliet, how can people get in contact with you? Because I know you do a lot of work.
If anyone would like to get in touch with me, even following this conversation, which I do speak about a lot, on the 24th of November 2017, we started off a program called Breaking the Silence of Abuse in our communities, and appreciating every single key speaker. People can get in touch with me on from abroad +44 77 423 84052. I repeat, +44 77 423 84052. And at my Twitter handle is at JNM1000, at JNM1000. And thank you so much to your program, to Dr. Papa, Kwasi again, and Yaya. Great to see such a program. Also to Jones,
yes.
And I can see you've got a full studio here. Yeah. It's great to have people like you creating awareness.
Thank
in this
you
kind of
very much.
topic.
Thank you. We appreciate you for coming, Juliet. That was Juliet Makapila, UK African Diaspora founder, also community transformer. And also, thank you for joining us today, and Kiki as well. And to our listeners and viewers, we're done for another day. Keep the conversation going. We'll be back here, same place, same time next week. Until then, enjoy your weekend. Goodbye.
This program is brought to you by Pay Global.